There by the Kiwis around there.
Back to 6 against 5.
Fantastic. Yeah, the Kiwis are going again.
Oh, what a move.
Streeping. It's going to be a strike for the goal. Powering away. Just didn't quite have the support.
Oh, he's lost it in front of goal. We got a foul called. Well, what a move from New Zealand. There were 2 men down.
And one of the Dutchmen's been sent out for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think that was their chance. The Dutch really needed to score during that double power play, didn't they? 6 against 4.
They did.
They actually never even had a shot on goal.
No, they didn't. You've got to take it to the Kiwi defence.
Tremendous defending.
They just did it. In fact, if anything, they were actually attacking the whole time. And as I said, they just kept the possession. And here they go again, just trying to flick it back into the centre. Here's number 12, Piers Gordon. He's back in the water again. He's a dangerous forward for New Zealand.
55 seconds left. The countdown has begun now for New Zealand here to take the world title. The under-19 girls have gold medals in their kit bag, ready to go back.
Yes, they certainly did the work yesterday, and so we've got 2 in the bank, and just really now got to finish this last 45 seconds for the Kiwis.
And this has been a great match. We've seen 2 teams really give it everything. These are the best 2 teams in the world.
Great move there by the Dutch up through the centre of the pool, just linking some passes together. The Kiwis just shut them out, take them into the wall just to slow them down, just to take the pressure off.
Very, very happy to see the puck against that barrier.
Punch down there.
Gone New Zealand's way.
Yes, punch there by Bart Post from the Netherlands. Just too anxious to get that puck in. He's desperate to make sure that the Dutch score again in the final seconds of this game. Well, we've got 21 seconds, folks, and Kiwis are just maintaining position, trying to keep the Dutch out.
It's been very, very close, but the New Zealanders had such a tremendous start early on in this match. And they've just managed to hold on. They were 2-0 up after 6 minutes. And, well, here we are with seconds to go. That 2-goal lead was vital in the match because the Netherlands have scored goals, 3 goals against New Zealand, which is a lot of goals to score against a winning team.
Oh, absolutely. You just those opportunities don't come that often. And if you I think that's been the difference between the Kiwis and the Dutch. Every time the Kiwis have been up on that goal, here they come again.
It's over.
It's over.
It's all over, and New Zealand are the world champions for 2006. And, well, there are celebrations galore going on here.
Yes.
The crowd are on their feet.
Yeah,
it's just
a sea of black jerseys there in the stand. They are waving, the old flags are flying, the silver ferns flying up there in the stands.
Incredible.
The Kiwis have regained their world title here in Ponsford in Sheffield, the one that they won in New Zealand. And here's Piers Gordon dived in through the middle of the pool there. What a happy bunch of faces we've got there. So they've certainly done the business.
Well done to Bruce Colley, who's on this camera. He's worked harder than anyone here on the camera work to make sure that this is all brought to you. And he's in the middle of that pool now. And the Kiwis are going to leave Sheffield with World Championship gold medals. Our cameraman's nearly getting involved in the celebrations there.
There was Ben Tilley there. Both his parents have come out from New Zealand to watch this final. They're up there in the stand, so he's a happy boy, and I bet you there's some very proud parents up there as well.
Well, what a performance we've seen. The Dutch can hold their heads up high. They've given us a fantastic match here, and they really pushed the Kiwis hard. In this World Championship final, it's New Zealand who've beaten the Dutch by 5-3. And you can see it.
Yeah, some very dejected Dutch people, but as you say, they can hold their head up high. They perform really, really well. I think it was those 2 early goals that the Kiwis got just kept on putting it out of the reach of the Dutch. They kept on coming back with 1 goal at a time, but in the end it was those 2 fast goals that put New Zealand ahead, and they just maintained that lead right to the end. So what a great final.
Congratulations to New Zealand. They've been the powerhouse team here this week. We've had 12 days, 269 matches, nearly 3,000 goals. Every one of them's available for download if you love your underwater hockey. here on 247.tv.
And I could hear almost the Steinlager caps popping off the beer down in New Zealand at the moment. I know they'll be celebrating here tonight. It'll be what about 11 o'clock New Zealand time on Saturday evening, and I know there's been very, very happy underwater hockey families back in New Zealand. So all the best and congratulations to you and to when you see your sons and daughters playing here. What a great scene, and what a great job New Zealand's done.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this coverage here, and well, for those New Zealanders watching this action, come and join us next week over in Canada. We'll be at the Women's Rugby World Cup, and there's some happy New Zealand women over there. The Women's Elite and the Under-19 squads have joined together and have been the main cheerleaders. The Dutch, they've given their all in this match, and as we said earlier, they can hold their heads up high. They've given the New Zealanders a great match, and there you see there's a lot of emotion here. They've been playing here for 12 days. There's tears as well on the sidelines. Real disappointment.
Oh yeah, they put everything into it, and it is disappointing because you go for 12 months, even 2 years to prepare yourself for one match basically, and all comes down to one match. But these guys have done tremendously well. They really have.
Yeah. Full credit to the Dutch, but it's the New Zealand Kiwis who've walked away here with the world title. They've retained their title they won 2 years ago, and well, we're going to get ready now as you see a lot of people start running away towards where the medal ceremony is going to take place. We're going to reset a few things here for a second, and we'll be back with the medal ceremonies and also the closing ceremony here from Sheffield. Murray Brooks, thank you very much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed commentating, and it's been great just to be a part of this, and we look forward to meeting you back in South Africa, hopefully in 2 years' time.
I hope so. I hope so. If you have enjoyed the coverage, please send us an email, feedback@247.tv, or just put a message up on the forum. That would be just as good. Do want to receive your comments, and we're not happy to stop here, guys. We want to improve this as much as possible. If you've got any ideas, we were talking about a camera from above the water really high up so you could see the positional play from above. So there's a few little things we can try, Anyway, my name's Adrian Battersby, and with Murray Brooks, thanks for joining us here. We've just seen New Zealand win the world title by 5-3 over the Netherlands. We'll be back very shortly for the medals and the closing. My name's Adrian Battersby. Good night. Goodbye for now.
What?
Well, if you were live with us a second ago, you just saw New Zealanders do their haka in the water, which I've never experienced before, and I don't think we've seen it yet in this tournament. This is a massive match here at Ponds Forge International Sports Centre, and we're away. And with me here, I'm very pleased to say, is a 24/7 Virgin, Graham Henderson, Tournament Director. Welcome, Graham.
Thanks, Adrian. Glad to be here.
It's lovely to have you on board. And this is a massive match. You're an Aussie yourself, but of course you're neutral in your official capacity.
Absolutely neutral, but it's great to see the Battle of the Southern Hemisphere happening here.
Yeah, what a big match this is here today. And, well, New Zealand are actually unusually the favourites in this match, aren't they?
Yeah, well, not necessarily unusually. They are the current reigning world champions. They won it in New Zealand, in Christchurch 2 years ago. And broke Australia's dominance on the World Championship. So this is a very big match for the Southern Hemisphere and a bit of a grudge match.
Absolutely. Well, I was watching some old footage from quite a while ago, going back to '92, and Australia absolutely, I think it's fair to say, hammered every team in that competition, even the final.
Absolutely. Australia actually won the final 12-0, which is an incredible feat in a final. It's just amazing.
Unbelievable. Well, I think it's fair to say, as a lot of these matches we're going to see today are going to be nothing like that at all. This is going to be very competitive.
No, it'll be a very tight match. The teams have been building throughout the competition. The Australians started slowly, but they've improved dramatically as the competition went on. This is a very new young team for Australia. A lot of the world stalwarts that have been in their teams for years aren't here, and this is all new blood. And I think they've got a reputation to live up to, and they're going to play that way.
Great view from this camera from above. We're a slight bit of mist on it. We'll get that cleaned up for you. And we're trying new things all the time here. You're going to see something new here on the timeout. We're going to actually get the camera in the water and have a good look at the teams if they sit on the edge.
At the moment, the pressure's building. They're just in front of the Australian interchange area, so they're 2/3 towards the New Zealand goal. And as you can see, there's a lot of people on the bottom and a lot of pressure being applied. The New Zealanders are very quick at bringing it around the outside and coming in on the blind side of the goal to reduce, obviously, the defensive tactics of Australia.
There's a call up top. Decision now. Well, these teams must know each other a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of more matches being played between these two teams down under. And would you say, how many times a year would you say these two actually get together with each other?
Oh, look, every year they sort of have a match. There's the Southern Hemisphere Championships where they play each other, but that competition generally is where they blood new players they're trying to bring up to the World Championship level. A lot of the youth teams come over to New Zealand, from New Zealand to Australia and vice versa to sort of, enhance their playing ability. And I'd say that's probably why the Southern Hemisphere has been rather dominant, because obviously when you train with the best players in the world, the game only gets better there and enhances there.
Yeah. But it's great to see some of the other nations coming through as well. And, we saw Colombia push Australia in the women's section all the way yesterday.
Yes, it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, awesome. There's a lot of new teams and new initiatives as well. Of course, we're streaming. There's a chance. New Zealand are through. Can he score?
Yes. One to the New Zealanders.
Has that been given? We'll just wait for the official. Yes. The goal is given.
Number 2 for New Zealand scored that. It was a good breakaway. And as I said, see here, they just man up and then around the outside and create those breaks to basically put the Australian defence into tatters by running into the clear spaces and giving themselves every chance of getting to that goal tray.
What a great goal there, and what a start for New Zealand. I think when they met each other earlier on, it was 3-2 to New Zealand, but there was a feeling that the Kiwis were resting a few players.
Yes, they were. I mean, you're always resting some of your better players in those rounds. I mean, as long as you're seated somewhere in the top 4, you've always got a chance to make it through the final. So they'll rest the players and do exactly that. It's a barging offence against New Zealand. Obviously down the wall, someone's tried to swim straight through a player rather than flick through him.
Strange that, of course, Australia finished 4th in the pool stages. It was, by their standards, actually a poor showing.
Oh, absolutely. But as I said, it's a very young team and they've got a lot of history behind them and they've improved throughout the tournament. So that's one of the good things we'll see. And hopefully this match will be a very, very close contest because everybody loves a close contest.
That's attacking at the moment. They're in the New Zealand part of the pool, but that's a very strong swim there. Lovely move.
Yes, the Australians are moving it across the back, which is a pretty typical tactic for Australia. They actually invented that style of play in the late 80s.
It's almost like watching a soccer match. They're moving it back to start again from.
That's right. It's very difficult to swim through people, so you need to move it around the outside to give yourself some clear water to get the run on and get the momentum moving.
Yeah. Brilliant camera view here from this camera above the New Zealand goal. And they've still got possession, Australia. This has been a long move. These guys have been underwater a long time now.
Yes, it's going to always be this way. The intensity of this game will be incredible. These boys will be very tired at the end of it. This sort of high-intensity man-on-man situations really takes it out of you.
Well, Graham, when we get to half-time, I'll certainly ask you your thoughts on this tournament as a whole and how the game has improved both on and off the pool. Do you say in and out of the pool? That's the word, isn't it?
That's right, in and out of the pool. Or if you're English, they call it a pitch for some reason.
Yeah, I have difficulty. I've called it courts, pitches. I haven't called it a rink yet. I do a lot of bowls commentary. Here's a chance for Australia for an equaliser. They're putting the bodies in.
A lot of hands in there, a lot of hands. It'll be hard for the referee to decide what's going on. Have they given it?
Yes, they've given it.
The score is 1-1, Australia-New Zealand.
An equaliser here for Australia. Well, look at this. New Zealand have got the bodies back. And there's a move that you'll see here. The puck just goes free for a second. Look at the support play from the Aussies. And There's three of them in there.
Well, I've just counted 5 on the bottom, so there must have been one lone defender sitting on the surface as they do the big power push.
Wow, that's incredible push there from... I think we had a false start there. We've got a timeout, Australian timeout there. Well, that was a real retaliation from the Aussies. We were a little bit surprised by it because it just came so quickly. We weren't expecting that at all, were we?
That's right, and that's why quite often an attacking team, after scoring a goal like that, where there's a very big power push and a lot of players on the bottom, will call a timeout, because then, as they're up the other end of the pool, they've got to swim back, they've got to interchange their players, and they like to regroup and get some big gasps of air during a timeout to take off again and try and do the whole thing over again.
Yeah. Here's the Australian team on the screen. Few big names there, but as you say, a lot of youngsters.
Well, that's right. I mean, Jason Mises is one of the defenders for Australia, and Greg Bush. They're probably players that have been around, are players that have been around for a number of years. And obviously there's the Sutcliffe dynasty in there, the youngest Sutcliffe, followed by his older brother, who's played many games and been on many World Championship teams for Australia.
A beautiful shot here. You can just see the two teams coming together. It's almost like a head-on collision at times. If you look up and you see there's a big guy coming up towards you, you've got to have some guts to play this game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on the surface, it's especially bad because all eyes are on the bottom and you're swimming flat out on the surface and all of a sudden you run into a brick wall. A lot of underwater hockey players have been shortened due to this game.
Yeah. You used to be 6'5".
Exactly.
Looks... they've got a foul and it's going to go the Australian way.
Yep, they're pushing the New Zealanders back.
I'm talking to big fellas, if you like your rugby, I'm going to be in Canada next week. We're going to be covering live the Women's Rugby World Cup on 24/7. And I think Australia-New Zealand is quite a likely final from the look of the seedings. New Zealand are current world champions in that also.
Yes, and Australia will be looking to change that as they try to do.
Here's a move. There's a good little attack there, and New Zealand on the defensive.
Yep, Australia are pushing hard in there. They've got the numbers on the
They've
bottom.
They've got the extra man.
It's very close there.
Oh.
Well, the referees have pulled it up. Obviously, there was a hand infringement on the puck against Australia as they tried to turn there. You saw the puck bounce off his arm, which is an infringement, obviously. You've got to play it with the stick. Here we go. Now you watch when he turns. There's the hand in there. There it is. It just hit him on the arm, and that's the foul.
How do you spot those things? I can't believe it. You've got really keen eyes there, mate, to be a referee, I tell you.
Yes, well, it's an interesting sport to referee because it's three-dimensional. It's the only sport in the world you play and can move in every direction.
Yep.
And that's for a referee too, so it makes it very difficult actually to see a lot of things. But we're trained and we do it, and we hopefully get it right.
I heard somebody saying that the sport should be renamed to underwater cribbage, just for all the Harry Potter, millions and millions of Harry Potter fans out there to say, look, you can play cribbage, but it's just underwater.
That's right, exactly it.
Well, Australia are really giving the Kiwis here a tough time, but there's an opportunity for the New Zealanders.
Oh, the big pull under. They're trying to get it back to their defence, to their attacking players. The Australians are defending heavily here. They've got control of the puck and they've brought it over to the side. Obviously, the way to defend any goal, you never try and clear it back up the centre because that's where the run of players is. You always take it to the side so that they can only come at the goal from one direction, which makes it easier for you to cover.
And that's exactly why I need somebody like you sat here.
I'm lucky I've actually been a coach and a player on the Australian team, so
right.
I've had a lot of practice at it.
You know your stuff, and here you are as an official. Here's an opportunity for New Zealand. There's bodies.
Bodies everywhere. It's
all
very
over.
Difficult to score through here. There'll be a lot of turning, and now the Australians are swimming away with the puck. As you can see, they always turn blind side, so the puck ends up behind you, so you're protecting it from the player, from the opposition player who's trying to get it. So when you look at this game quite often, you wonder why the player turns backwards all the time and does what we call a curl.
Yeah.
That's to protect the puck, because obviously if you can protect it, they can't get it. You've got possession, and possession is the game.
Well, yeah, if you haven't got the puck, you're never going to score.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It's the same so many sports. Australia have had a lot of the puck in this match. And it's a really, I can't believe we've already played 10 minutes. It's such a high intensity match, isn't it?
It certainly is. And look at that scoreline. 1-1, you can't ask for a better match. It may come down to a battle of fitness at the end. And as we've had on a couple of games over the last couple of days, where we've gone to those extra times and won even to sudden death. then it becomes just an incredible battle of fitness and trying to combat fatigue.
Great view of what's going on down there. I love this new camera here.
Yeah, it's giving us a great perspective of the action.
Yep, it really does show the three-dimensional aspects of the game. And here's a chance for New Zealand.
Yes, no, the Australians have cut through the defence. There it is. The New Zealand have scored again. The score now 2 to New Zealand, 1 Australia.
2-1. And let's have a look at the replay here from above.
Out from the side, see they've swept it off the defender, moved it across the pool. The formation, attacking formation of New Zealand is all there. And if you see, there is no Australians on the other side of them to combat that. They just ran it around the outside and into the goal.
That was a good move there from the Kiwis.
Yep, very textbook attack at the goal, that is.
Yeah. And off they go again. I'm going to stay with this camera because you just see only 2 swimmers from each side really make an effort, don't they, Graham? And the rest are backing up.
That's exactly right. Your attackers try and get out and gain possession. Some teams like to gain first possession, some don't. It just depends how you set your formation. Obviously, the Kiwis here New Zealand want to get that possession first off and get the drive into the Australian court and put them on the defensive foot.
Kiwis have stepped up a pace here, haven't they? You can just see there's a little bit more play over in the Australian third of the pitch.
You saw then one of the Australian defenders try and turn out of the attack of the New Zealander. But obviously there's another New Zealander just like this waiting on the other side as he came around. He had to turn back again and they've manned up on him and he's got nowhere to go with the puck.
The Aussies bring it out. Nice move. Just to summarise the goal scorers, Ben Tilley scored after 3:26 for New Zealand. The Australians equalised Nicholas Young after 6:06, and then Ruben David Friedlander after 10:40 has now given the Kiwis a 2-1 lead here.
Yes, Nicholas Young's one of the speedsters for Australia. He's an incredibly fast swimmer, and they try and get him out onto the free breaks, and it's a very hard man to catch.
We saw him in pool play, actually, where he made up what looked like a yard in no time at all on a defender and just scored comfortably. And if you've got speed in this game, that's massive advantage.
Absolutely, and he's got the ability to actually take the puck and swim around people in a very wide arc. Yes, he can swim around people in a great wide arc and head towards those goals. And as I said, he's really hard to pull up.
So here we are. We're into 2 minutes left in the first half, and this is as tight as it comes. But the Kiwis a chance for a third.
There's another one.
Has it been given?
It has.
It's in there.
It's in there. It's all clear on the goal. It is. Another goal to the Kiwis. This will put the Australians on the back foot. They're going to have to come out really hard. This is another nice move. They come in through the centre. It goes around. There's their player waiting wide on the wing, and in he goes. Yeah. Did you see the Australians? He got under them. Once you get under a player, it makes it very difficult to try and control the puck from above them because they're driving forces forwards and up and upwards, and obviously you're trying to get down and control it, and it's virtually impossible.
Well, there's a view of the Aussie team, and off they go. Well, this is the New Zealanders just two goals within a couple of minutes there, and it was interesting from that free puck, Graham. The way they flicked it in and got through the first Australian line of defence, and suddenly the puck was free in front of the goal, and that's danger if it's free in front of goal.
Absolutely, and as you saw, the New Zealand team had their wing people sitting out there just waiting for that exact moment. If the puck comes through and it's free, they're straight onto it, and as I said, they got under the Australian defence, and once you're under, you're in a very strong position.
That was Pierce Gordon who scored there after 13 minutes for the Kiwis. We're now entering the last minute. I just absolutely love this angle. You see everything going on there.
Absolutely, and there was a glove down the wall. You'll see the referee, yes, he's giving us a glove signal.
How do you call those? I'm going to have to get some revision done on this sport. Well, I will ask you about the tournament at half-time, Graham, and your thoughts on the highs and lows.
Happy to.
Yeah, many more highs than lows. It's been a fantastic tournament, and it's amazing to think we're just sat here now, and hundreds of people down under will be watching, and will watch replays, will own them on their PC, will have DVDs, and there's going to be people saying, "Hey, I heard your commentary on the match. It was pretty good." Or maybe the opposite.
Maybe the opposite. You never know. The interesting thing is a lot of people probably get up to watch this because it's the middle of the night in Australia now. So, they'll be getting up and like we did with the World Cup where we unfortunately went down to the Italians in a very controversial manner.
That was a terrible decision. I am so... Yeah, it was very gutting to... just for the sake of football.
That's right, and everybody loved an underdog, and we were certainly an underdog in that one. But yes, we got up in the middle of the night. Those games for us were at 2 in the morning and 5 in the morning, all those games. A lot of people were late to work those days. And hopefully this is what will happen here with underwater hockey. People will be up watching these games.
You know, Graham, we find it happening all the time because our sports worldwide on 24/7, we cover lots of the big sports. And, we've had it with Australia with squash where we cover all the world tour on the squash. And the Aussies are having barbecues in the middle of the night, watching the action live. It's incredible.
Here we go, an Australian drive towards the goal. It's very difficult to store these goals. As you can see, every player is on the bottom.
Oh, I thought the puck was in there for a second.
No, he was just protecting the end of the goal tray. He drops the stick down just to make sure if it does come out really quickly and the Australian do a sweep into the goal, they're there to combat it.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a puck in the goal. You're right, it was a stick. It just looked exactly like a puck now.
That's right.
Where did that come from? You do get goals like that occasionally, actually. It's, where there's suddenly a mass maul of bodies and we've got half time here and then suddenly the puck ends up in the goal and you go, how the hell did that get there?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, when all those bodies are down, the players themselves even lose track of the puck unless they're right on it. Yeah. And, you'll always have that situation where everybody's looking for the puck, but there'll be 2 or 3 people in there that know exactly where it is and exactly where to take it.
Well, the Kiwis are 2 of 3 goals to 1 up as our cameraman gets into the water. He's going to have a little look at what they're doing. There's the New Zealand team. We didn't show them earlier on. We showed the Australians. And, well, Graham, this tournament, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. Well, I think we've done a fantastic job in terms of streaming this live to the world and showing all the viewers what's happening live and as replays. But in terms of the actual tournament itself, what are your thoughts?
Oh, look, the tournament's being organised fantastically by the people from Great Britain. The management committee here have done a phenomenal job. And obviously with this innovation of live web streaming, it's opened up a whole new dimension for people to have a look at our sport and see it happen live. As I said, these sorts of sports have a lot of devotees who are totally committed to their sport. And they will be getting up, as I said, in the middle of the night to watch all these things happening and unfold.
Well, there's a view there of the New Zealand team, and it has been great to see so many countries here. And the level of play has gone up. Like, one of the strange things has been we've been producing DVDs of every action, and the Australian Colombians was one where we called yesterday. We said, I bet the Colombians have been watching every DVD of every Australian play because the Aussies found it so tough to score against Colombia. And that's opened up a new feature of the game. It's becoming much more professional. I walked to my bed last night and there was 3 teams that rooms I walked past. All of them huddled around TVs watching DVDs of the opponents.
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, they're the best training aid you can have. I mean, when you get to see your own action live, you can then make adjustments. The coaches can look at things and say where they need to pick things up and make things better for their teams. And, that's why the lesser teams always look to the top teams to lead the way with tactics and skills and are always viewing those DVDs. They're now a vital part of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes the sport more professional on a whole footing. And if there's anything like, the unique nature of this sport is not a lot of people can see what's going on down below. Suddenly it's opened up and you can say, let's look at what the Aussies do. Let's look at what the top teams do. And if anything, it's going to bring those weaker teams up to a better level. Oh,
that's absolutely correct, Adrian. I mean, with this innovation, they can actually improve dramatically and far greater rate than has ever happened before. Like, you can only learn so much by playing it, but when you get to slow all the action down and analyse it, well, you can go ahead in leaps and bounds. We're back underway with the action again. This will be interesting. The Australians seem to win that strike and are pushing it into the defensive half of the New Zealand pool. As you can see, there's a lot of New Zealanders. If you look up on the screen now, you can see the New Zealand defenders. They've all come down. And we've got the referees found a...
Well, we haven't had a single sin bin so far. And does that suggest to you that the teams are on the best behaviour? And with the strength of these 2 teams, one guy goes in the sin bin, you're basically saying to the other team, look, you can have a goal here.
That's right. I mean, that's the sort of level it comes to. I mean, these teams are very professional. The sport has got cleaner and cleaner as the refereeing's improved over the last few years, and the teams now won't try anything because they know they'll be cooling their heels in the sin bin. And when you're in the sin bin, you severely let your team down.
Yeah. It has been actually fantastic to see how good the referees are. I think, it's been very noticeable. I know it's one of the unique natures of this sport that people don't talk back. And if you do, you're in the sin bin again.
That's exactly right. The referees are right onto it. I mean, the referees, quite a lot of them, most of them have all been players themselves. They know all the tricks of the trade, so there's nothing you can get away with, and you've got eyes on the surface looking at what's going on with the action up there. So it's very hard to actually do things. Here's the Australian attack into the goal. Look at all those bodies on the bottom. You'd wonder how anyone could get a lead disc of 1.25 kilos through into that 3-metre gully at the back.
The Kiwis were down. The action's still on, but the puck's in the corner. We just need to make the referees transparent at times.
Absolutely, it'd be good. I think players would like them transparent most of the time.
Well, the Aussies need a goal here. They're 2 behind.
Absolutely.
Really,
look at those Australian forwards. They're waiting on the bottom. The puck's going back out to the corner. Now we've got a push out from the New Zealanders. We've got a... It's interesting here, the Australians don't seem to be manning up on the wide wing to come in at the goal. They're actually forcing the play. They seem to be trying to force the play back down the wall, which is not a typically Australian tactic, so I don't quite understand why they're doing that, but they're obviously under instruction and they've got their reasons.
Yeah. Do tactics play a very large part of this sport, that you look at strengths and weaknesses of the opposition, and or do you typically just go and play your own game and make sure you play your A game, as it were?
Well, I think it's a bit of a mixture of both, like any competitive sport. I mean, we've got a player who's been sent out, one of the Australians, who's at number 3.
The number 3, Hamish
Ride. Yes, he's one of the key Australian players, one of the key forwards. He's probably the strongest boy in that team.
Well, this is a massive chance for New Zealand. If they get a 4th here, you really are going to struggle to see any way back for Australia with 12 minutes left.
Yes, it's not looking good for the Australians.
The Aussies made a had a magnificent match against Colombia yesterday. They were 2-1 behind and scored with 40 seconds in the Women's Elite. And here's a move from New Zealand up the left-hand side.
They're pushing it. So look at that Australian defence being jammed up as they're trying to turn it out against the wall. There's just so many. The Australians do their typical thing here and pass back. We've got an infringement. We've got an elbow lift where what happens is when you're trying to gain the puck, you pull the puck back and your elbow drives into your opposition and it effectively holds them out. And that would have happened on the wall, and that's an obvious infringement because you can't hold your opposition out. This is a no-contact sport, but I suppose that people say basketball's a non-contact sport as well, so make of that what you will.
Yeah, well, netball's a similar situation as well. That was Jason Meeses in the centre of it for Australia. He was doing all the defending there, holding off 2 Kiwi players.
Absolutely. Jason's one of the senior members of the team. He's been the captain of the Australian team for a number of years. It's very interesting watching the Kiwis and the Australians play. I mean, if anybody follows any other sort of sports, in netball, they are the 2 ranked 1 and 2 top teams in the world, and one of those matches is a fantastic spectacle.
Yeah.
Also with the All Blacks in the rugby, Australia, New Zealand, it's a fantastic thing to watch again. There's a lot of rivalry between these 2 countries.
New Zealand seem to have the upper hand in the rugby at the moment, and they're looking as if they've got the upper hand here.
Oh, yes. Well, they always have the upper hand in the rugby, but at the wrong time. They peaked us that little bit early, and then we win the World Cup. That's how it works, I think. Except not this time. The English had some say in it, I hear.
That's true. You're only allowed to be neutral on hockey and not on other sports. So,
exactly.
Well, back to this match. And interesting, New Zealand, from my point of view, they're almost sort of happy that the match is becoming a little bit more dead. They're happy that it's just going nowhere on the side wall. But here's a chance.
Here's a break. Look at that, 3 Kiwi defenders. Now they're swinging it wide again. They're trying to turn it out. The Australians are doing everything to drive that back.
That's beautiful defence, isn't it?
It is. Take it out to the sides, move the puck around. Now the Kiwis will do it. They didn't intercept the pass, so now it's gone wide. They've changed the side of the pool. They're moving across. Obviously, the zigzagging effect that happens in these games, because of the pressure put on you by defensive play, you tended up going square across the pool, trying to get that flick forward, then square across the pool again. It's actually very similar to rugby in that sense, except we try not to pass back too often.
Interception there from the Australian number 7. Blake Sutcliffe. There's quite
Here
a
we
lot
go
of
again,
tension.
he's swimming around. As you can see, when those players come down on you, it's very hard to flick through. If you flick through, you're actually giving it their advantage because as you flick through them, they're in front of you. And in a three-dimensional game, they will always get to the puck before you do.
But I just get a feeling that New Zealand are happy just to say, look, we're going to eat the clock up here on certain plays. That they're not putting a lot of effort to get the puck off the side. They're happy if it just dies there. The onus is on the Aussies, really, to try and make something happen now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the hard thing is to score from the side of the pool. You need to be in the centre of the pool to give you the full width to move the puck around. So if the game's being played on the side, the Kiwis may push it there. And if New Zealand does that, that'll slow any attack from the Australians up. And, of course, with the scoreline as it is at the moment, New Zealand would love that.
Well, the Kiwi number 7, Ruben David Friedlander, in the middle of that. He scored earlier.
They've got another elbow.
Another
And it's
elbow.
against the Australians. They're going to be pushed back 3 metres. Free to New Zealand. In the New Zealand attacking half.
Every single match here is live on both pools. All the major matches now are moving towards Pool 1. We do have some big matches tonight on Pool 2 also, so check those out. And we're colder. It's getting very scrappy now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The New Zealanders are trying. You can see they're obviously happy to have it on the side of the pool where it's difficult to score from. And, you know, there's nothing better than seeing those seconds eaten up where no one makes any ground. They're quite happy about that.
Yeah. Tom Howarth in the centre of that for Australia.
Australian free. They'll try and drive through here. There comes the pass through. The Australian forwards reaching back to try and move it on. But if you have a look, there's all the New Zealanders lined up. That's a hell of a barrier to swim through, all those people.
Yeah. It seems to be a typical Australian way that they do want to drive it through the centre, whereas New Zealand, you've seen in past matches, and maybe not so much here, but do like to go around the wings and go cross.
Now, you just saw it there. The Australians come down wide on the outside. Oh, the Australians having a few words to one of the New Zealand players. They're not happy. It looks like, the New Zealander obviously did something wrong. The Australian wasn't happy, and now the New Zealander will be cooling his heels in the sin bin.
Liam Watson is off for 2 minutes, the captain for New Zealand. And he's not happy at all with that call, but all of a sudden, now, this is exactly what Australia needed.
That's it. With the players' numbers reduced for New Zealand, they immediately swam straight out of that side to get it off that wall and try and drive down the centre of the pool where they can get their room to swim around, use their fast forwards like Nick Yong and try and get that drive.
And Yong was in there as well.
Oh, fantastic defence from New Zealand there.
Got so many men back.
Now we're back on the wall again. This is exactly where New Zealand wanted.
Richard Maxwell was the man who...
Now we'll try and do the flick through the last Australian defender. The Australians turning it out. See there they go. The run out. They get their man wide. Look at very close attempt. Greatest stop by the New Zealanders. Great defensive work. They've run it out to the other side now. That's what it's all about.
Well, we've got to see that one again. Let's have a look at this. What a stop this is. Here's the move from the right-hand side.
See, Australia swinging it out wide, trying to come around the other side of the goal, and look at that, the perfect pickup. And that was exceptionally good on the New Zealanders' behalf because he was over the top of the Australian. The Australian did have the under-driving force, but that sweep and the puck's gone.
And well, that's been called as an offence. A penalty has been given.
This looks interesting.
Well.
It is a penalty shot by the look of it. Let's have a look if the players are swimming out.
Absolutely. And there we go. We've got 2-on-1. Well,
yes, it's a 2-on-1. This will put Australia back into it.
The referee,
they'll get the wind behind their tail here.
The referee must have decided that there was a hand in there.
The interesting thing here would be to see whether the Australians break right or left, and this will be given away by the players on the surface and how they set up. If the flicker takes it and the player is on his right, he will then flick it to the right to give that player the chance to drive in at the defender's legs. Obviously, it's much harder to reach for your legs than it is to reach out in front of you.
There are 2 Kiwis in the sin bin. The second one hasn't yet been put in on the computer.
There's a lot of discussion going on here. It looks like the New Zealand coach is in the water talking to the referees, which is very strange for this to happen.
Yeah, he's on the field of play.
He's in the field of play. In actual fact, that is usually not allowed. I don't quite understand what's going on here.
Graham, if you need to move, then fair enough. And you go if you have to. But
they can't call a timeout on a penalty goal because the clock is stopped effectively for a penalty. And therefore, they can't call a timeout. This is strange. 2 referees and the chief referee are all sitting on the side of the pool watching the one referee have discussion. This is extremely interesting. Also, obviously looks like one of the New Zealand players is now swimming back. The coach is moving out of the area.
Wow.
Oh, look, I'll
Well,
have to give you a report on this later when I
this-
find out from
it's
the
all-
referees what the discussion actually was, and the penalty is now going to be underway.
This is all happening off camera, so our cameraman Dryside actually wasn't even aware of that. Off they go. Here we go.
Here come the Australians. That one flick and it's a goal. It's all over. That's
It's
fantastic.
given.
Now, that was an interesting move by the Australian because he had his follow-up player, the wingman, was actually on his left, yet he chose to flick right, which is can be dangerous sometimes to do that.
Well, here
Have
we
a look
go.
at that in a replay.
This is
Now,
the
here we
replay.
go. The flicker takes it. The player's on the left. Now, if he'd caught that puck, if the New Zealander had caught that puck, he would have had a clear drive out to the side, and there wouldn't have been the Australian player there to knock it in. So that's a very interesting tactic, but it was a good flick, so it's all academic.
Well, this is it. This is fascinating stuff now. It's 3-2, and, well, the penalty must have been given, Graham, just surely for the hand getting the puck out of the tray.
Well, absolutely. You saw when he turned it, maybe he came over the top of his hand and actually knocked the Australian hand off, which happens a lot of the time, and it's a subtle penalty, but it effectively gives you control of the puck. You knock their hand out of the way with your stick and then gain possession, and I dare say that's exactly what happened.
I can confirm the score is definitely 3-2, and there's an Aussie going to the sin bin. Well, we had such a clean period of play.
It's number 13.
And it's Rhys Quilford.
Rhys Quilford, one of their left-handers. The Australians actually have got 2 left-handers in their team, which makes it also very difficult, as you would tell from other sports when you have left-handers. They add a whole new dimension to things.
Well, I think the reason that you had the New Zealand captain in there, look at the top right-hand corner. Pierce Gordon was given 5 minutes for that infringement.
Well, yes,
That's
they obviously saw
one.
that as very serious indeed. I'll certainly be taking the DVD for this.